Most people don't fail because they are incapable. They fail because they negotiate with their comfort. And comfort will always win unless you decide it won't. Let me ask you something simple but uncomfortable. What are you becoming in the hours when no one is watching you? Because the truth is, your life is not shaped in the spotlight. It is shaped in the silence. Discipline is the foundation of every achievement that looks effortless from the outside. People often assume that successful individuals are constantly motivated, always inspired, and always ready to take action. That belief is dangerous because it creates an illusion that progress depends on feelings. In reality, feelings are unstable. They rise and fall with sleep, stress, environment, and circumstance. Discipline, however, does not depend on emotional weather. It is a decision made in advance, a commitment that says, I will act regardless of how I feel. That is the real difference between those who dream and those who do. Motivation is temporary fuel, but discipline is a built system. Think about motivation like firecrackers, loud, bright, and exciting, but quickly gone. It shows up in moments of inspiration, such as watching a powerful video, hearing an emotional speech, or experiencing a breakthrough idea. But what happens the next morning when the excitement fades? That is where most people stop. They mistake emotional intensity for long-term consistency. Discipline, on the other hand, is not loud. It is not emotional. It is repetitive, structured, and sometimes even boring. Yet it is exactly that boring consistency that builds extraordinary results over time. The truth is, your future is not shaped in moments of inspiration, but in moments of resistance. When the alarm rings early and your bed feels heavier than usual, motivation will tell you to stay. Discipline will tell you to move. When you are tired after a long day and your goals require another hour of effort, motivation will disappear. Discipline will remain. This is why relying on motivation alone creates inconsistency. It works only when conditions are perfect, but life is never perfect. Discipline removes the need for perfect conditions altogether. People often misunderstand discipline as restriction or punishment, but it is actually the highest form of self-respect. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are sending a message to yourself, my future matters more than my current feeling. That message builds identity. Over time, you stop identifying as someone who tries to succeed and start identifying as someone who follows through. That shift is powerful because identity determines behavior. When discipline becomes your identity, action becomes automatic, not optional. Another important truth is that discipline reduces internal conflict. Without discipline, every decision becomes a debate in your mind. Should I wake up now or sleep more? Should I work or rest? Should I push or pause? These constant negotiations drain mental energy. But when discipline is established, the decision is already made. There is no argument. There is only execution. This clarity frees your mind from emotional chaos and allows you to focus on performance instead of persuasion. That is why disciplined people often appear calm. They are not fighting themselves every hour. Ultimately, discipline is what separates intention from reality. Many people have strong intentions, powerful dreams, and clear goals, but intention without discipline remains imagination. Discipline is what converts vision into structure and structure into results. It is the reason why ordinary people achieve extraordinary outcomes, not because they feel more motivated, but because they are more committed when motivation disappears. And motivation will always disappear. The only question is whether you continue without it. There is a powerful truth most people ignore because it feels uncomfortable. Opportunity is not distributed evenly across time. It is captured by those who are willing to operate when others are inactive. While the world is asleep, there is a rare silence that removes distraction, competition, and noise. In that silence, progress becomes clearer, sharper, and more intentional. The early hours are not just about waking up earlier. They are about entering a different category of effort where most people are absent, and therefore most excuses disappear. When the majority of people are sleeping, They are not just resting, they are surrendering time. And time, once surrendered, cannot be reclaimed. The person who wakes up early is not simply gaining extra hours, they are stepping into a mental and practical advantage. Every task completed before the world fully wakes up creates a gap between you and those who delayed their start. That gap may look small in a single day, but compounded over months and years, it becomes a separation that cannot be easily closed. There is also something psychologically powerful about working when no one is watching in the early hours. There are fewer distractions, fewer notifications, fewer interruptions, and fewer excuses to delay action. That environment forces honesty. You cannot pretend to be productive. You either are or you are not. In that quiet space, your work ethic becomes visible to yourself. And self-awareness is one of the strongest drivers of improvement. You begin to see exactly how consistent or inconsistent you truly are. Most people underestimate how much competition is eliminated simply by timing. While others are still negotiating with sleep, scrolling through distractions, or delaying responsibility, you are building momentum. And momentum is one of the most underestimated forces in success. Once it begins, it carries you forward with less resistance. Starting early in the day often means starting ahead in mindset, which then translates into better decisions, stronger focus, and higher output throughout the rest of the day. But there is another layer to this idea that is even more important. Waking up while others sleep trains your identity. It tells your mind that you are not part of the majority who operate based on convenience. You are part of a smaller group that operates based on intention. This shift is subtle but powerful. Over time, you stop comparing yourself to people who only work when it is easy, and instead begin measuring yourself against your own standards. That change removes the need for external validation and replaces it with internal discipline. And perhaps the most overlooked reality is this: most people are not your competition because they are trying to beat you. They are your competition because they are wasting the same time you are wasting. The difference is not intelligence or talent, it is timing and consistency. When you choose to operate while others are inactive, you are not competing with them in direct confrontation. You are simply outpacing them silently. And silence is where real separation begins. Pain is not an interruption in the journey towards success. It is the structure of it. Most people misunderstand pain because they associate it with failure or punishment, when in reality, it is often a signal of growth. Anything that stretches your limits will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a warning to stop. It is evidence that you are moving beyond your current level. If everything felt easy, nothing would be changing. And if nothing is changing, nothing is improving. The early stages of discipline, especially when building a new routine like waking up at 4 a.m., often feel unnatural. Your body resists, your mind negotiates, your emotions try to convince you that later is acceptable. This internal resistance is not a sign that you are incapable. It is a sign that you are breaking old patterns. Every habit that leads to comfort was once repeated, and every new level of discipline must first overcome resistance before it becomes normal. Pain also plays a role in shaping mental toughness. Without resistance, there is no strength. Just like muscles grow through controlled stress, character develops through repeated challenges. When you push yourself to do something difficult while others avoid it, you are not just completing a task. You are training your mind to handle discomfort without retreating. Over time, what once felt unbearable becomes manageable, and what once felt impossible becomes routine. That transformation is where real progress lies. Another important truth is that pain exposes intention. Many people say they want success, but their actions stop when discomfort begins. That moment of resistance reveals the difference between desire and commitment. Desire speaks loudly but fades quickly. Commitment stays even when conditions are unpleasant. When you continue working through fatigue, distraction, or doubt, you are proving something to yourself that words never could, that your goals are not dependent on comfort. Pain also refines focus. When things are easy, attention often drifts, but when something is difficult, you are forced to concentrate. Early mornings, challenging routines, and demanding goals eliminate unnecessary noise. They strip away distractions and force clarity. In that space, every action becomes intentional. You begin to understand that progress is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters, even when it is hard to do. Ultimately, pain is not the enemy of success. It is the price of it. Every meaningful achievement carries a cost in effort, patience, and persistence. The people who avoid pain remain unchanged. The people who accept it, learn from it, and continue despite it are the ones who evolve. Pain does not break you unless you resist it. But when you move through it with purpose, it becomes the very thing that builds you. Most people believe success is achieved by chasing big goals with intense bursts of effort. They think achievement is about rising higher in moments of inspiration, pushing themselves beyond limits when motivation appears. But the truth is far more consistent and far less glamorous. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Goals are direction, but habits are destiny. What you repeatedly do in ordinary moments defines your extraordinary outcomes. Habits are powerful because they operate in the background of your life. You don't have to think about them deeply once they are formed. They become automatic responses to familiar situations. This is why two people can have the same goal: success, fitness, discipline, financial freedom, but end up in completely different places. One builds habits that align with the goal. The other relies on occasional effort and emotional motivation. Over time, the difference between them is not talent, but repetition. The danger lies in assuming that ambition alone is enough. Many people carry strong visions for their future, but their daily routines contradict those visions. They want better health, but maintain unhealthy habits. They want financial stability, but spend impulsively. They want discipline, but live in constant distraction. In this contradiction, goals become fantasies rather than destinations. Habits either support your direction or silently destroy it. There is no neutral ground. What makes habits so influential is their compound nature. One small action repeated consistently does not look powerful in a single moment. Waking up a little earlier, reading a few pages, exercising for a short time, or focusing for an extra hour may seem insignificant on a daily scale. But over months and years, these actions accumulate. The compounding effect of habits turns small decisions into major life differences. Success is rarely one dramatic change. It is thousands of small, repeated choices that align in the same direction. Another critical truth is that habits shape identity more than goals ever will. A goal says, I want to achieve something. A habit says, this is who I am. When you repeatedly act in a certain way, your brain begins to associate that behavior with your identity. If you consistently wake up early, you stop seeing yourself as someone trying to wake up early. You become someone who wakes up early. That identity shift is powerful because once something becomes part of who you are, it no longer requires negotiation. Breaking old habits is difficult because they are deeply wired into comfort and familiarity. The brain prefers efficiency, and habits provide that efficiency, even when they are harmful. That is why change feels uncomfortable at first. You are not just replacing actions, you are rewriting patterns that your mind has accepted as normal. But every time you choose a better habit over an easier one, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. Over time, repetition reshapes identity, and identity reshapes outcomes. One of the hardest truths to accept in life is also the most liberating. No one is coming to rescue you from your situation. There is no hidden savior, no perfect opportunity that will arrive exactly when you are unprepared, and no external force that will suddenly transform your life while you remain unchanged. Most people live in quiet expectation, waiting for circumstances to improve, waiting for support, waiting for motivation, or waiting for a break. But waiting is not a strategy. It is a delay of responsibility. The idea of being saved often shows up in subtle ways. It might look like expecting the right mentor to appear, the perfect job to be offered, or the ideal moment to begin. But life rarely operates in ideal conditions. More often, it responds to action under imperfect conditions. The people who move forward are not the ones who waited for certainty. They are the ones who acted in uncertainty. They understood that clarity comes after movement, not before it. Action creates answers. Waiting only creates more waiting. There is also a psychological comfort in believing that something external will fix what feels broken internally. It reduces pressure in the short term because it shifts responsibility away from yourself. But that comfort comes at a cost. When you believe someone else is responsible for your progress, you give away control over your future. And when control is given away, growth becomes dependent on things you cannot guarantee. The moment you reclaim responsibility, even if the situation is difficult, you regain power over direction. Reality is often harsher, but clearer. Your life responds primarily to your decisions, not your desires. Many people desire change deeply, but desire alone does not alter outcomes. Decisions do. And decisions require ownership. When you stop waiting for circumstances to improve and start improving yourself within existing circumstances, everything begins to shift. You stop being a participant in your life and become the driver of it. That shift does not happen externally. It happens internally. Another important truth is that waiting weakens confidence. Every time you delay action expecting something or someone to intervene, you reinforce the idea that you are not capable on your own. Over time, that mindset becomes self-limiting. You begin to doubt your ability to handle challenges independently. But when you consistently take responsibility, even in small ways, confidence grows naturally. Not because conditions become easier, but because you prove to yourself that you can act without permission or perfect timing. Ultimately, the absence of a savior is not a disadvantage, it is a design. It forces growth, accountability, and self-reliance. It pushes you to build discipline instead of dependency. The moment you accept that no one is coming, you stop outsourcing your future and start constructing it. And in that realization, pressure transforms into power. Every decision you make today is not just shaping your present. It is quietly building the person you will become. There is a version of you that already exists in the future, shaped entirely by the habits, choices, and sacrifices you make in this moment. That future version is not created suddenly. It is constructed slowly, one action at a time, through repeated behavior that either strengthens or weakens your direction. It is easy to believe that small choices do not matter. Skipping one early wake up, delaying one task, or choosing comfort for a single day feels insignificant in isolation. But life does not evaluate decisions in isolation. It evaluates patterns. The future is not built on rare moments of greatness. It is built on consistent patterns of behavior. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are sending a signal forward in time to the person you are becoming. Think of your future self as someone observing everything you do right now. Every time you ignore your responsibilities, that version of you inherits the consequences. Every time you push yourself despite discomfort, that version of you inherits strength. In this way, your present actions are not private, they are investments or debt sent forward. Some decisions add power to your future identity, while others take it away quietly without immediate notice. What makes this idea powerful is that it removes the illusion of separation between now and later. Many people live as if their future is disconnected from their present life, as if success will arrive through a single moment of change. But in reality, the future is already under construction. There is no sudden transformation that appears without preparation. The person you will become is already being shaped by what you tolerate, what you repeat, and what you prioritize today. This perspective also changes how you handle temptation and excuses. When you understand that your future self is dependent on your current discipline, excuses begin to lose strength. You start asking a different question, not what feels good right now, but what would the future version of me thank me for? That shift in thinking turns decisions into responsibility rather than impulse. It replaces short-term comfort with long-term awareness. Ultimately, your future self is not a distant stranger. It is the direct result of your current actions multiplied over time. There is no magical version of you waiting ahead. There is only the version you are actively building through every disciplined or undisciplined choice you make today. So when that alarm rings at 4 a.m., it is not just sound. It is a question about who you are becoming and who you are refusing to be. Because in the end, life does not reward the loudest dreams. It rewards the quiet decisions no one sees, the moments when you choose discipline over comfort, action over excuses, growth over delay. Nobody will clap when you wake up early. Nobody will celebrate when you push through fatigue. Nobody will notice the effort in the beginning, but they will see the results later, and by then, it will already be built. And that is the truth. Most people never accept success is not a moment. It is a routine, a pattern, a way of living when no one is watching. So ask yourself one final time, not what you want, but what you are willing to repeat every single day. Because your life is not changing someday. It is changing today.